Hey market warriors, welcome back to Courage Pays Better Than Fear Trading. My name is Jeremy Ritz and welcome to your go-to for stock market news, tips, and motivation to dominate the markets. And I'm super excited today because this is the beginning of my three-part series of preparing for Q1 Nvidia earnings that are coming on May 28th. This is going to be massive and we have to be ready and prepared for what is to come. And what better way to do that than by taking three opportunities together to dig in to the charts, to dig into the numbers, and come up with a plan so that on the 28th, we are ready to tackle this beast that we call Nvidia, the king of the market. Let's go. All right, so welcome everybody. Thank you for being here with me. I am getting ready to trade the open here. It's 9:22 on a Friday, Eastern time. And so I got the charts in front of me. And while I'm getting ready to do that, I wanted to start putting this video together, this three-part series, getting you ready for Nvidia earnings on the 28th. And it's the name on every trader's lips. It's Nvidia, it's the king. And sure, it's been beat up quite a bit, but they're not just a chip maker, they're the heart of the AI revolution. We know that. And they're synonymous with AI. In fact, if you would ask someone about artificial intelligence, more than likely the first thing that they're gonna say is Nvidia or Jensen or Blackwell in relation to their chips. But this company is a beast, $2.7 trillion market cap. They own 95% of the $158 billion GPU global market. I mean, I can't even wrap my head around that. Their chips are everywhere. They power ChatGPT, self-driving vehicles, not to mention data centers, which are popping up everywhere. And I mentioned Blackwell, their Blackwell architecture. It's a monster, pulls in about 11 billion in revenue. And that was just in Q4. So this is a company that's really reshaping the markets. And it's one that we need to be aware of, and they're going to have a significant opportunity to show us where they're headed here on the 28th. And I want you to be ready. All right, so let's take a look at how Nvidia has been crushing it. Their Q4 earnings were straight up epic. Now that might not be reflected in the move in the stock following earnings, but 39.3 billion in revenue, up 78% from last year. And earnings per share, 89 cents, beating Wall Street expectations by 7.6%. And the real powerhouse, their real MVP in terms of making money, it's their data center business. It raked in $115.2 billion. These numbers are just astronomical, and that's double than what they did the year before. And this is why Nvidia has been a rocket ship for investors. But it hasn't been smooth selling, and we know that. Why is that? Because even after that epic earnings report, the stock didn't really move. It actually gapped up and faded down. And we're going to take a look at the charts here in a little bit. And in fact, Nvidia is down 19% this year, which is pretty significant for this company. And we all know why. Trade war, tariffs, political issues, especially with China. And there's concern that that's going to cause a slowdown in AI spending in your major companies, your Mag 7, but we're really not seeing that. But does the company have a chance to turn things around with this earnings report? Let's check it out. So Wall Street is hyped for this earnings report, and they're forecasting a bump in revenue, 43 billion in fact, which is going to be a 52% leap year over year, and 93 cents per share in terms of earnings. So we're going to see some quality numbers, and Nvidia's got a track record of going even beyond that. So if that's the case, and let's say that there's an even bigger beat, we can see a subsequent move in the stock price. But here's the challenge. What are we going to see with data centers? Are we still going to see growth there? Are we going to see the Blackwell chips delivering? Well, trade tensions and budget cuts stir up trouble? That's what we have to find out in this report, and that's why we really want to pay attention to what CEO Jensen Huang has to say. So if Nvidia nails this report, we're going to see a massive rally that's going to lift the entire market. We're not just talking Nvidia, we're talking all of tech, the indices, you name it, it's going to pump. But if they miss, or if there's a downgrade in forecast, then we're gonna see a subsequent move down. But we'll get into that more in parts 2 and 3 of this series. But for now, let's go check out the charts and see what has happened the previous few times they've reported earnings. So here's a glorious chart of none other than Nvidia. You can see at the time that I am recording this, Nvidia is up $1.20. The market overall today is up. But what I want to look at is not the price action today, because we're going to get to that as we work through the series. But I want to look at the response that we've had in the last several earnings reports and whether or not we gapped up or down. So if we look at the last earnings report from February 26, right here, you see that we did have a slight move higher. It was a gap up, but then what happened? It faded down. And this was quite the move here on February 28th. It dropped from the highs that it made that day, a total of $14.80. So it was quite the move down. So it was unable to hold on to its small gap up. So it was a gap up, fade down. If we go to the earnings prior to that, we have to go back to November 20th of 2024. That's right here. We again had a gap up, but it wasn't able to hold on to its gains. And what did it do? It sold down and it started a downward movement. All right, so the last two, gap up, fade down. Now, let's go to the previous earnings report. This was August 28th of last year. It's right here. And what happened on this report? They gapped down. So the last three, gap up, fade down, gap up, fade down, gap down. Let's keep going backwards. Let's study these charts. So let's go back to, this was May of last year. All right, so this is a full year ago. This is when we had that massive gap up where Nvidia for the first time hit $1,000, and then the split was announced. And you see the move that really took place from there. So that was the last gap up that we had on Nvidia. It was 1 year ago. All right, so let's go to the earnings report prior to that. So here is February of 2024. And we had 3 days of a pullback into that 20 EMA on the daily. And then what did we have here? We had a gap up. All right, so the last 5 reports, and that's all we're going to go through in this video. But we had gap up, fade down, gap up, fade down, gap down. And then the previous 2 times from that were gap ups. Does the probability play into the favor of a move higher for Nvidia? Well, there are a lot of things to factor in here. The numbers that they're going to report, what is going on in terms of the trade war. But in terms of sheer probabilities, 2 gap ups, fade down, and then the time prior, a gap down. It could be time for a move on Nvidia to the upside. And we're going to get into an even deeper study as we work through this series to help make sure that you're prepared come May 28th, that you're able to tackle this earnings and profit via your trading. What are your thoughts after part 1 of this series? Does Nvidia gap up? Do they gap down? Let me know in the comments. And on your way out, please make sure you smash that subscribe button, and I'll see you back here for part 2 of this Nvidia series.